PlayStation has not been having a great year when it comes to layoffs. They canceled a bunch of live service games recently, and now we're finding out that Visual Arts Studio is experiencing layoffs that might be a little bit more notable than originally reported. So this news comes way of Kotaku via Ethan Gatch. Ethan does good work over there, and he wrote the following in his intro paragraph. Long story short, the PlayStation-owned Visual Arts was hit with fresh layoffs this week amid a further restructuring of Sony's U.S. game development operations. While some of the cuts included staff who had contributed to recently canceled projects like an upcoming live service game at Bend Studio, a source told Kotaku the layoffs were more widespread than that. Now, PlayStation, I've been quite hopeful about. Their financials are good. It seems like they're doing everything right. They need to release some sort of statement about their upcoming games. I think we can all agree on that. But unfortunately, in the layoff world, they have been hit quite hard. Abby Lemaster posted over on LinkedIn. It was tough waking up to messages that my friends and former coworkers from PSVA were laid off this morning. PlayStation Studios Visual Arts was a playground. It was also my first job in games. I started as an intern with an informative systems degree, unsure of where I fit in, met some of the most incredible people. It was a place where we got to experiment, learn, and contribute to projects that defined eras of gaming. The teams there were filled with artists, engineers, producers, and creatives who poured everything they had into their work. We chased excellence, and we built things we were proud of. But also, more than anything, PSVA was about people. The friendships I made there shaped me, and I carry those relationships with me to this day. The layoffs hit hard. PSVA let go of developers with decades of subject matter expertise, talent that will be extraordinarily difficult to recoup. This industry can be unpredictable, but the skill, experience, and passion of the people I worked with at PSVA are undeniable. If you've been affected and need support, my inbox is open. And if a resume pops on your desk from someone from PSVA, please give them a consideration. So unfortunately, that was a report from Abby, who used to work there at one point, and seeing that colleagues from PlayStation were laid off, obviously she wrote a little bit of a statement. This comes amid a large restructuring. I'm just going to go over to Eurogamer here for a second, who sort of talks about the current state of where Sony is at. The news follows several canceled projects from Sony, including a live service game from Days Gone developer Bend and another from Bluepoint, reportedly based within the God of War series. Moreover, Sony canceled live service shooter Concord. We've talked about Concord extensively on this channel, the problems with it, and the surprising fallout and loss of revenue for PlayStation obviously is potentially partly to blame for this layoff happening, this layoff wave sort of happening at the company. Anyway, our initial launch didn't land. A month later, it shut down developer Firewalk Studios as the game would remain permanently offline. This time last year, Sony laid off 900 staff, equating 8% of its workforce. The reductions were predominantly due to the closure of its London studio and reductions at Firespite. Right. On the flip side, Sony still has its Horizon live service game in development, which has now added former Bungie senior design lead Chris Proctor to its team. And as a design director at Bungie, his focus was on Destiny 2 weapons. Now, out of all the PlayStation games that got canceled, I don't think the Horizon one was the one I would have put my money on. Personally, I think canceling The Last of Us was very short-sighted. To go all in on Concord, to continue to go all in on a Horizon live service game, I think it's the wrong move personally. And, we've talked a lot about how, well, I'm glad that Bungie got purchased by Sony, because if they hadn't, I think Bungie would be in bigger trouble than any of us even realized, because they grossly overestimated their revenue when they were talking with Sony. And now we know that obviously they weren't able to recoup that, and they largely wound up not paying out any of the bonuses and stuff at Sony because there was a 40% revenue miss from Bungie. So there have just been so many issues in terms of staff and the bets that were placed around Jim Ryan's departure that I really hope PlayStation can get everything in line so that they can continue to see the excellent revenue growth that they have seen. I made a video talking about how, their console sales are doing really well. They're only 2% behind where the PlayStation 4 was in the same time period. And with all the chip shortages and such, it's quite surprising to see where they have managed to land this console generation. And there's a chance that this quarter they could actually beat out where they were with the PlayStation 5 because of a little game called Grand Theft Auto 6. But let's focus in on the layoffs here for a second while I have you. Consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell. I get better every time somebody subscribes, so I've been fighting off a cold for what feels like forever. But if you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, I think it goes away faster. Anyway, earlier this week, an unknown number of staff, the visual arts group based out of San Diego, were informed that their last day at Sony would be March 7th. The team provides internal art and technical support to first-party PlayStation studios and worked closely with Naughty Dog on the recent Last of Us Part 1 and 2 remasters, along other projects. The layoffs come after an expensive failure in last year's Concord. Eurogamer wrote the same thing, basically. New rounds of live service project cancellations include a reported God of War spinoff at Bluepoint Games and a reorganization with the top echelons in Sony leadership. That includes Hiroshi Toki, Herman Hulst, and Nishino, all sort of restructuring. Now, not that long ago, back on February 5th, we actually saw some other layoffs. We saw most of my team was just laid off from PlayStation. It was a dream to get to work with Sony on the platform I'd grown up playing since the PS1 and contribute to the PS5 Portal, PSVR 2, PS App, and future consoles. If you know anyone who needs an engineer experienced native console UI, feel free to reach out. I really hope that all the restructurings and all the layoffs of this console generation are nearing the end, because this is continuing into 2025. And, PlayStation's doing quite well. Out of all the companies in the gaming sector, I think PlayStation has managed to hold on to things. I hope that whatever fallout we're going to continue to see from the Concord bet is slowly starting to wane from this day forward. PlayStation is succeeding. They've been doing quite well in all the ways that they need to do well. Their revenue is doing okay. Their monthly active users are doing great. They're near matching what the PlayStation 4 did. So why are they doing this vast restructuring? I don't quite understand it, if I'm being totally honest, and I don't really understand why PlayStation and Sony feel the need to do this at this current juncture. The only conclusion I can really come to, just based off of everything that we've heard, is that Jim Ryan went all in on these 20 live service games. Concord was the biggest bomb that we've seen in the industry and ever. I don't think I've ever seen anything flop that hard. And I'm not gloating about it. It's really unfortunate what happened. But the truth of the matter is that's just shockingly devastating for that company, which now no longer exists, and for PlayStation. And I hope that one bet was the wake-up call that they needed so that they can mitigate any damages that they're going to face in terms of monetary income, and that they're able to course correct and go from there. Because I'm tired of talking about layoffs. There was a shakeup over at WB, and I made a comment just saying, I'm tired of it's just the same thing every time. WB had layoffs, Microsoft had layoffs, Sony had layoffs, and I feel like I've been talking about these for 3 years straight now. And it's just like, yeah, okay, well, another studio closed and more layoffs and everything. It's not a fun story to talk about. It's not something I enjoy talking about. And, like, what's the other big story this week? Oh, WB had a bunch of layoffs, and they're restructuring and they're rethinking what kind of content that they're creating. Everybody could have told you, make another Hogwarts. You just did $1 billion for Hogwarts, and you put all these bets on these games, and you got your hand caught in the cookie jar. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating from the outside to watch what these executives are deciding to bet on and then seeing the follow-up from it. And I think you could say that about any company, honestly. I don't care what your favorite console is. Human beings are impacted at the end of the day, and it really stinks. So anyway, that's what's going on with PlayStation. Hopefully I don't have too many more layoff videos this week, but that's what happened. Thought I'd try and get back into the swing of things, just to hold on to you for a second. I know we're at the end of the video, but obviously you can tell I'm a little bit sick. I haven't been doing the news videos. Sometimes you just got to dust off the cobwebs, get back on that horse, and try and ride. What analogy am I making here? Try and get back at it, so to speak. I do have regular interviews lined up for the rest of the month, so you're going to be seeing some of those. I think PlayStation fans are going to be pretty excited about the next few I'm about to announce, and you'll see those soon. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you so much to the members, including Christopher, Eddie, Inner Machine, Pillaroni, Savage, Spin Getter, and the Scarecrow 121 for supporting Save State Plus, my big Patreon initiative, patreon.com/Save State Plus. I have regular interviews. I think once a week I have a big tentpole interview that is going to post over there. So I have I have this week, the next week, and the next week booked. So I have 3 weeks. The goal was to do a bi-weekly, but I just keep getting these interviews that I shouldn't say no to. So I've been lining them up for you. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Check out my previous video, probably about something from a while back, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now, everybody.